Hello, my name is Rubia Cedillo, and today I'm going to be talking about the grammatical devices. This is my ID. So to start with, grammatical devices has been divided in three different groups, which are aspect, tense, and voice. To start with aspect is the way a verb is referred to and the form that they take in different types of constructions. So for this, we have this term aspect. This group has been divided in three groups. We have simple aspect, progressive aspect, and perfect aspect. The first one, a simple aspect. It takes into account the person used as subject and event. And also if a verb, it needs to have a plus s added to the end. For example, if you use he, she, or it, we have to add the letter s plus es at the end. For example, she walks, she writes. We add that s at the end. Another one is progressive aspect. These are phrases that include the verb be plus verb and ing. For example, she is the verb to be in this case. She is walking. We have walking, which is walk plus ing. She is walking in the park. Another example would be she is or maybe let's start with another one. I am going to a party. I, subject, verb to be, going, verb plus ing, to the party, complement. Another example will be, it is going to rain. It, subject, is, verb to be, going, go plus ing. As you can see, we have the basic, which is subject, verb, plus verb and ing. Ing can be added to all the verbs. We have going, walking, jumping, sleeping, writing, all the verbs. Perfect aspect. It includes the use of have, has for present perfect and had for past perfect. So in this case, we can say, I have done my homework. She has done her homework. We add that have and has plus the correct form of the verb to be. And the same thing for past perfect. Instead of using have or has, we use had. So there are different actions. Present perfect is something that, started in the past and it was done in the past, but it has a consequence in the present. In tense, we have that is the main thing is that for a verb to be tense, they need to be fitted. So we have three items in this group, which are past tense, present tense, and future tense. So to start with, past tense. It is used for actions or events that concluded in a specific time in the past. For example, I don't know, I went to the park. I didn't do that today. I won't do that tomorrow. That's something that happened prior today. It could have been yesterday or before yesterday, but it's something that I started and I finished. That is past tense, something that already happened in, I don't know, in a specific time in the past. It could have been, if today is Wednesday, it could have been, I don't know, Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, all the days before today's date. Then we have present tense. It is used for events that happen regularly. They can be habits or routines. So there are a lot of confusion here. There are people that tend to mix up present tense with using going to in the future tense. So we need to have in mind the present tense is important to talk about routines, habits, something that you do very often. For example, I go to sleep at 8 p.m. That is something that I do. She is, sorry, I don't know, another thing, her routine, she is late every day. She is late every day. That's something that she does every single day, something that obviously is bad, but it has become her routine. Then we have future tense, that these are events that have not happened yet. So something that can happen from today to, I don't know, any day in the future. So to talk about the future tense, we use will and going to. So going to is for plans. As you can see, plans that are going to be done in the future. So I am going to go to school tomorrow. Tomorrow is future, so I use going to. I will buy a new phone. That's something that's going to happen in the future. That's what we use will and going to talk about something, about things that have not happened yet. Then we have voice. We talk about the focus of our message. In other words, we talk about what is most important for the message. It can be about the person who did it, the person who receives the message, and what has happened, what is being done. So we have three voices, which is active, passive, and middle voice. Active voice, when we say, for example, active voice is basically like the contrary from passive voice. Passive voice can be this book was written in 1975. That's passive voice. Active voice. So in passive voice, I'm not telling you who did it in this case, because I'm just saying that something happened in 1989. What happened? The book was written. Another thing, middle voice. So in middle voice, I can say, for example, he shaved himself. So it's something that a person did, and the action that this person did happened to him. So he did something to himself. Active voice, for example, active voice can be, let me think. That's the normal theme. This book is, for example, the cake is delicious. That's middle voice. Passive voice can be from the same sentence. This cake tastes delicious, because if I'm not wrong, in middle voice, it is possible to use the verb taste to talk about middle voice. That's a specific word that is used in middle voice. So as you can see, we have three voices. And so the other part of this video is to talk about the importance of this group in text. So I think that for a text to make sense, to express something, to have meaning, it is important to take into account that when writing, we should follow all these rules and take into account, for example, if we're talking about the aspect, we should take into account the subject of the pronoun that we're using, because if, for example, we happen to use the pronoun he and we don't add plus s at the end of the verb, that is a grammar mistake. And we should take into account, if we're going to become teachers and we are also learning, we need to master this in order to teach other people. So what if we're going to teach kids, students, about grammar rules if we don't know about this? So we need to have this in mind, because if we don't, for example, use the correct tense, how will we expect a text, a sentence, I don't know, a paragraph, an essay, a story to have sense, to make sense and have a meaning, if we don't use it, if we don't use the correct tense? We have to have in mind what is past tense for, what is present tense for, and what do we use, and when do we use future tense. Because as I said before, there are some people that still confuse present tense with future tense. For example, they are asked to write about their routines, they will use going to. I say this because I have seen it before. There are people that use going to for routines, and that is a horrible mistake, because for routines we use present tense, because that's something that you do every single day. That's something that happens regularly, so you need to do this. Also, when talking about boys, so we need to have in mind, as I said, we should be very aware that these three voices are very important if we want to report something. So if we want to report something in a written form, we should be aware of the voice that we're going to use. So there are some cases in which active voice is used when reporting something in a written text, and that is not correct. We should be using passive voice. And also to know, if we want to have the other person know, if we're talking about a person, in the case of, if we're talking about the person who did something, or the person who's getting the message of any specific thing that happened, or there's something that is being done. So for that, we need to have in mind these three things: active voice, passive voice, middle voice. As I said, passive voice, I something that I'm forgetting. Yes, in passive voice we use also the word by to mention the person. For example, this book was written by, I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe. What are we talking here? We are talking about a person who did something, not something that was done. Well, both of those things, because we're saying was written, that something happened, but they say by Edgar Allan Poe. When I say by Edgar Allan Poe, I'm talking about the person who wrote that book. I'm not talking about the person who received it. So we always need to have this in mind. These three grammatical devices and their respective groups, so we can have the aim, our goal to achieve in this case is to have text, to have paragraphs, essays, making sense. That's the main theme, because if we don't follow this, if we don't incorporate these things, that text is not going to make sense at all. There are going to be a lot of grammar mistakes, and that is going to cause not something horrible, but just going to confuse a lot of people, starting with us, because we're not going to see what's wrong until someone points it out. So that's what I think it is important to incorporate these three things and have these three things in mind when writing a text. So that is my contribution. Thank you very much for paying attention, and that's it. I think that it's something very important that we need to have in mind. Yes, thank you.